Tua, why did you decide to declare for the NFL draft?
Yeah, well, I got to talk with my parents. We got to get a lot of the information from coaches, Coach Saban. Coach Sark had a good amount to do with this process too. And then we got to talk with GMs, general managers, owners, of teams. And then what the doctor's kind of report was on the whole thing. That's why we made our decision.
What did your parents want you to do?
Yeah, well, my parents were fine either way with whatever I decided to do. If I wanted to stay, they were going to support it. If I wanted to leave, they were going to support it.
What did Coach Saban say when you went and told him that you were going to declare?
What did he say? He was just supportive of it. He was fine. He was happy for me. He would have loved for me to stay, but regardless, if I stayed or went, he would have supported me. So
he says that you're like a son to him. What is he to you?
Well, our relationship is definitely a unique relationship. I've never had a relationship like this, with someone that I can remember aside from, my dad. Well, I'd say it's only because of how Coach Saban is, his tactics on how he coaches, with all the yelling, getting on you with all the little things. Very similar to, how I've been raised with my father. And so I kind of knew how to get around that kind of, I guess, shield, of the person. And just being who I was, just with my personality, I guess it changed, how he did things, but then, off the field, but then on the field, he was still the same coach. So, to really answer your question, probably like a father too,
So let's go back onto the field and let's look back at that Mississippi State game where you were injured. Of course, a fluke hip injury only really happens in car accidents. But when you look back on that game, do you regret staying in the game as long as you did?
No, I don't regret staying in the game as long as I did. Coach Saban, I think, wanted to take me out before that, that 2-minute drive, and I kind of told Coach Sark, let's go. And Coach Sark was all in. They checked on me every single time after every series. Hey, are you good? Are you good? I was perfectly fine, literally perfectly fine. It was just a freak accident. If that play could have happened the second play of the game, But I would definitely learn from that. I see someone running for me. It's you got to throw it away earlier, and it was really my fault. Should have just threw it away. But then again, you can't control those aspects of the game. It's football.
It's part of what makes you great too. You don't want to throw it away.
Yeah.
Okay, when you think about Alabama and what it's meant to you, what are you going to miss the most about being here?
I'm going to miss a lot of things. I'm just going to miss a lot of the relationships that I've had with the people around, this place. From Miss Amy to Jeff Allen, and then you got Coach Saban to, the rest of our coaches. And then, a lot of people behind the scenes. I do this thing a good amount where I go and, sit in Greg Burns' office, or I meet with him before, he meets with his staff. And then a lot of the people that I will never probably know unless I be intentional on meeting them, I go and say hi to them. People in like the office on the other side where a lot of football players don't know about. I go and introduce myself to those people, but it's just the camaraderie with all the relationships that I have with the people I built relationships with here, and then especially my teammates.
Yeah, let's talk about those teammates. Yeah. What will you miss about being with them?
Man, a lot of the hard work that we put in with each other. I've heard from a lot of the guys, my ex-teammates that are in the NFL now, that the NFL is a different beast, with how you go about, I guess, the camaraderie of your team. You guys don't really run together. You guys don't really have time to do things together because, everyone is different. Everyone has their own set plans. And in the NFL, it's almost like an individual thing, where, guys need to decide whether we come together as a team or, if they don't, then they don't. You can't do anything about it.
And here it's obviously different than that.
Oh, here is so much different. Yeah. I think at every college school, they feel the same way. But then in the NFL, I think it's something you gotta create within the atmosphere.
How would you describe your college career? Because you were close maybe to winning a Heisman. You obviously won a national championship. There are so many things that you accomplished, but there could be some that was left on the table. How would you look at it?
Yeah, it was a roller coaster. It was a roller coaster. That's the epitome of my years here. I've had a lot of, success here. I've had a lot of failures here. And I mean, it's just a lot of mixed emotions that I've got to feel over, the past 3 years here with my time at the university.
Who would you model your NFL game after? Who's an inspiration for you at the NFL level?
I mean, there's a good amount of guys, and I get to talk to these three guys. It's not just one guy, but I got to talk to Russell Wilson, Marcus, and Drew Brees, and so kind of getting their insight on things. I ask questions. I mean, they're more than happy to answer them. But I think what's so intriguing about those three guys is what's off the field with them. They don't really care about what goes on the field with how I play and whatnot. They want me to be successful in how I play, don't get me wrong, but it's just how I conduct myself, with the media or after the game, after a big win, after a big loss. So, I learn a lot of things from guys like that.
How is the hip feeling?
I mean, the hip is good. The hip is good. It's good.
What's the rehab been like? Because you're not a guy that wants to really rest, and that's required in this recovery.
Yeah, it's been really hard. It's been really hard. I think I've been trying at least to practice patience. It's just something hard. This isn't something you can rush back to. That's why, given the facts that, if I don't let it heal, then this could pop up or this could pop up, and so with what Jeff Allen and his athletic training staff had, been telling me, just rest.
The timeline here is what for the hip recovery for you?
It's about 3 months from what, Dr. Rout, who did my surgery in Houston, had said. So.
And when can you start picking up a football again?
Oh, I've been having the football.
And what have you been doing with it?
Just throwing it. I could be sitting down throwing it. Probably like the 2-week mark, I was probably just throwing.
Really?
Yeah, but not like, swinging, like my body, just tossing it. That's it.
And when can you really start to throw again?
Oh, I don't know. I've been standing and throwing and then sitting and throwing. But probably after the 3-month mark, when we know that the bone is healed, and everything is good with the cartilage,
So I'm sure you'll be watching the national championship game on Monday. What are your thoughts about Clemson against LSU?
I mean, it's going to be a tough game. Both teams are really good. They both have really good coaching. They have Dave Aranda, DC for LSU. He's really good, and then you got Brent Venables, who's really good too. I mean, he's good at disguising his things. His pressure looks are definitely unique. But I mean, it's going to be a good challenge, both sides of the ball, and they have really good offenses. LSU, I mean, probably one of the most dynamic offenses we've probably ever seen. And then you got Clemson, where, I mean, they don't really do too much fancy things, but they're going to go out there and do what, got them there. And so they don't really change up too much, but I mean, it's going to be a hard-fought game to me. I don't know who's going to win that one. It's going to be a good one.
Okay, and last one, between those two quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow, is there one that you would take? What do you like about both of them?
Well, it's hard because of the respect that I have for both of their games, I mean, you look at Trevor Lawrence, his freshman year, he won the national championship. They beat us. And then, how he's been doing this year, it was kind of struggly, in the beginning. And then, I mean, you just see how he picks up towards the end. And then with Joe Burrow, I mean, he's probably been the most consistent quarterback in all of college football up to this point, this season. So I don't know. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
You would pick Tua.
Well, if I could play, I mean, I'd love to play against one of them, but I can't.
I'm kidding.
So.
We're so glad you're watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, make sure you subscribe to ESPN Plus. We'll see you there.